All right, we'll we'll get going here. All right, so last week we talked about picking your farm, and today you will find on your winning playbook in the portal there, uh, 8 weeks worth of things you can do to help farm your neighborhood. So go there, get ideas, follow that program. But what I wanted to talk to today is as you farm neighborhoods and as we even go into more listing lead generation, make sure that you have your listing presentation right. So we need to be ready for that. So we've provided all of you with a listing presentation, which to me, the listing presentation, what we gave you is more of a template that you can customize to fit you, and you may want to add stuff, you may want to take stuff away. So, but it's there for you to work off. It's very usable in the form it is right now, and it's got each one of you branded. So that's where you can start. I know other agents have taken that and customized it and, and made it their own, and it looks really good. Uh, so anyway, the listing presentation. So think of your listing presentation as like a job interview. Most people, or your first date, most people are showing up looking their best. Um, doesn't matter what that job is or whatever. You're coming in and looking your best the first time. You're making a first impression with them. Um, this is the chance and what you're doing in listing presentation as well as buyer presentation is you are building a relationship, you're building trust, and you're showing that you're the market expert. So that's what I love about farming is if you get a lead that actually invites you to come talk to them, you've already established yourself somewhat as the market expert for that neighborhood. They're calling you because you sent them a market update monthly, or you drop by, you talk to them, you sent them just solds that happened in the neighborhood, or a, a home that was newly listed. But you've done that, and it also when you're doing that, this also helps, especially in today's market, when we see an expired listing come out. You should be uh, you know uh, well known enough from your marketing that you can call those people and they would recognize at least your mailings or whatever. So anyway, make sure you look good when you first walk in. Make sure you understand the neighborhood. So in a listing presentation, you know, a few of the items we're going to have is an introduction. Make sure your introduction's well written. If you need samples of that, we've got those samples of what you can put. What sets you apart? If you don't have a lot of listings, or you got to, or if you don't have any listings, then use your brokerage, use United Real Estate as a whole. Uh, if you got on broker open when they talked about listings, is you're not just marketing here. You got to be the local expert for here, but you've got to, and you'll market here, but you are going to market all across the country. Okay. I think you can go to U-Haul. I know Redfin's got it's a little bit harder to find, but there's data in there that shows you what states people are moving from mostly to here. U-Haul's got it, Redfin's got it, and I think RPR's got it. Not sure on that one, but so you can target market those areas. Um, so those are some of the things that set you apart. Because most agents don't talk about, hey, they're going to put it on the MLS. They'll do a little bit of Facebook marketing, but if you tell them, look, I'm going to be reaching out, and you show them those stats that looks like most people from, let's just say, New Jersey are moving to Middle Tennessee. So we're going to be actually doing some marketing in New Jersey, and that'll set you apart. The little things like that. Um, and then you also want to obviously bring your CMA. You want to show them why this house is worth $300,000. What's happened in the past in the neighborhood? Again, you're that local expert. And that conversation becomes pretty easy when you think you sent them this market analysis all, for let's just say 6 months. They've seen what the activity in the neighborhood, what's been happening in the neighborhood. They know that their home is probably worth this much. That conversation becomes a little bit easier. But remember, even doesn't matter. Let's say it's a large neighborhood. Uh, you can actually have a micro a CMA to that, or a micro trend, let's say, for a certain section of that neighborhood. Uh, all of us have probably been in neighborhoods where this half of the neighborhood is really, really nice, but for some reason, this back half of the neighborhood, or this part of the neighborhood, runs along Old Fort Parkway and it's busy. So that's a trend within that neighborhood that could affect the way this house sells. It may not affect the price, but it's going to affect maybe days on market. Um, and so be prepared to have that conversation. They know the negatives of their house. You just have to, ask them, what do you like about your house? What don't you like about your house? And that'll help bring that out, and you can have that conversation. Uh, Also, tips for home selling should be in that market presentation. Curb appeal. Talk about decluttering. Talk about painting. Things that depersonalizing the home. Things that need to be done to help make. And again, today this market is totally different, which I kind of like it because it could be something that sets us apart from others, and that is we're going in there and having those conversations with them. Whereas 2 years ago, we could walk in there and say, "No, you don't need to paint. You don't need to do anything, and you'll have three offers by the time you get back to the office." We all know those days, and those are over. So now they may have a very marketable home, but it needs to be the top one. If you've got two in the neighborhood, uh, and they want this, whatever the comps are in the neighborhood, they want that price, that list price. Their home needs to be top notch. So now more than ever, we're having to have those conversations more. And then show in your listing presentation what your roles and responsibilities are. What are you getting paid for? That means you are going to show them your marketing plan, that you're going to be going over offers, that you're going to be negotiating those offers, that you're going to be getting paperwork to the right places. You're going to make sure they have all the right paperwork. So make sure that uh, that we are explaining what we are doing. Again, it's a job interview. You're interviewing for that job. You got to show them everything you're doing, what sets you apart, and everything. Um, Usually a listing presentation probably should be no more than 10 to 12 pages long. You don't want to bore them. Now, your CMA is going to be easily that many pages if you are adding the pictures of other homes. So you literally could have a 24-page presentation, but just make sure they're kind of separate. I like to have my CMA separate from my listing presentation. So two different things, in my opinion, but all part of it. Um, so make sure you've collected the proper data. You've heard me say over and over again, know the product you're selling. Uh, know of homes know it well enough that you can spout off, well, 123 Oak Street sold on March 30th for this. I mean, is it 30 days in March? I think so. March 15th, it sold for this. You know exactly what's happened in that neighborhood. When you start speaking like that, these people know your neighborhood. They know your product. They know when they say, well, we've done this, we should, we've done this to the house. Yes, but this one also did that and it sold for this. Or why did that house sell for this much? Well, that's because they added a enclosed heated and cooled sunroof. You don't have that. When you know those things and you can speak like an expert, that's going to set you apart. You're not just showing them a bunch of numbers and a bunch of houses. You know a little bit about those houses. You can find that out. Look at the past sales. Look at the real track. Look at the past photos. Call the agents that have sold the house. Hey, I'm getting ready to list a house in this neighborhood. I noticed 6 months ago you sold this house. Was wondering, what kind of activity you had. Was the house in great shape? So you can ask questions. You'll have some that won't talk to you or never return your call, but most of them will. So learn about the property, learn about the neighborhood, learn about the community. Make sure you understand the community. What's the closest, people ask all the time, what's the closest Walmart? What's the closest Kroger? What's the closest coffee shop or park? Know the schools in the neighborhood. Know those things. Know how long it takes to get to the interstate. And then learn something about your seller. Why is your seller selling this house? That to me is one of the most critical things. A lot of people will say they want to sell their home, and you go meet with them. Well, all they're trying to do is this huge amount of money, and the home's not even worth it. Chris talked to me. Chris Tanner on here talked to me the other day about somebody. That's kind of what they're wanting to do. Hey, you want to sell my home? It hadn't sold. It's been listed a bunch. He called me the other day about a house in College Grove, and it's been listed in the last year. It's been listed 7 times or 10 times with 7 different realtors. And so when you start looking at that, you see the price. These people aren't being realistic. And so you got to understand, what is the seller doing? Are they selling because they need to move? Are they selling just because they want a bunch of money? And understand their strategy. And you may or may and be prepared to be able to walk away. Do it respectfully and professionally, but be prepared to walk away. I mean, if somebody's wanting $550,000 for a $300,000 home, you're never going to get that. And when you have that conversation with them, they tend to, and they tend to bow up against it and say, well, no, we're not going to, just be realistic with them. Say, I wish I could get you 550, but I'm not your man because I can't, or I'm not your one because I can't get you 550. And be prepared to walk away. So in your introduction, make sure it's professional. Again, make sure that this is their biggest financial decision. So the whole way through the presentation, you need to be professional and know what you're talking about. You wouldn't trust somebody to invest your money if they didn't have an idea. Oh, we're just going to put it in here and hopefully it'll do well. No, you want them to explain what they're doing with your money. Same here. This is a big. This was one of their biggest purchases, if not their biggest purchase. It's going to be their biggest sale. So make sure that you're a professional whole through. Make sure that you're showing your advantage to them. We talked a little bit about what we do for our commission. Okay. But if you're farming in a neighborhood, there's a good chance this is not a referral. Okay. This is something you've marketed. They've called you in. You're very well could be competing against other agents. So understand that you got to show your advantage by them hiring you. Why do you do better? Why are you better? What's the difference between you? What's the difference between United Real Estate? I mean, when you start saying, hey, when I put it, y'all remember the pitch sheet that we do on KV Core? That's a great thing to take. That actually shows them you have already looked to see what we have in our database of somebody that would buy a house in this neighborhood at this price point. That's huge. And I don't know if any of you have used that yet, because I think we were doing I was showing you the pitch sheet probably over a year ago. Has anybody used the pitch sheet with any listings? Need to make sure that you're using that, because most of your listings are going to show right off the bat, 3,000 or 4,000 people are looking for a home in Murfreesboro in our database, and then it just goes right on down. Maybe 1,500 in our database looking for a home in 400,000 range. Then it'll go down farther and it'll say 700 people are looking for $400,000 homes with 3 bedrooms, 2 baths. And it'll take it all the way down to that neighborhood and everything. And then you're going to tell them, look, if you sign the list, this is like a call to action for them. At the end of the presentation, you show that pitch sheet to them and say, hey, I've already done some analysis and see what what we have in our database of ready, willing, able buyers. Uh, and what I want to show you is these numbers. And by the way, once I have the listing agreement signed, I'm gonna go back to the office and I'm going to send this house as coming soon today. They're all going to get it today, and we're going to start pre-marketing to these people that have already raised their hand and said, "Hey, we're interested in the house in this community for this price point." So use that pitch sheet. That'll set you apart. Um, so the other thing is your marketing strategy. You will see today. You will see added in your portal uh, a, a marketing strategy. I think it's a 10-point marketing strategy of what you're going to do with their home. Bring that out, show them exactly what you are doing to market their home. You're not just putting it on the MLS and by the way, Taylor, the pitch sheet is in KB Core. If you guys need help with that, I can show you how to do it. Maybe actually what I'll do is I'll do the pitch sheet on the follow-up video for Wednesday. You can all see where to go get it. Uh, but show them exactly what you're doing from you know things that are optional or maybe staging. The home may be very well laid out. You don't need to stage, but if you do need to stage, hire a stager. In today's market, it's pretty important. You're going to go walk through the house with them, talk about decluttering, and actually don't even call it decluttering. Call it pre-packing. We learned that from a stager, and I thought that was great terminology to them because the words we're using are showing them that, hey, your goal is to sell and we're here to sell it. So let's go ahead and pre-pack and instead of declutter. Um, have some vendors ready. Maybe know some storage facilities that are offering specials and give those to them. Actually, maybe go talk to some storage facilities and promote them and let them. They may possibly give you a discount for first month's rent for all your clients. Another vendor that you could reach out to. But talk about that. Also talk about painting. Talk about depersonalizing. And get those things ready. Then after that, you can talk about you're going to do professional pictures. It's not going to be walking around with your iPhone. And we know that the video does better than still pictures. We know that 95% of people, I think it's 95%, start their home search right online. So our presentation need to talk about what our online presence is going to be. What is our online presence? The video is important. A virtual tour, whatever. I like the video walkthrough better than I do the Matterports. That's on a personal level. Matterports make me dizzy, but it's still reasonable. So Showcase does, and I think even Rabia does video walkthroughs with his stuff. Um, but still pictures for the MLS, add a video so you can add it to YouTube and so that you can put it on Facebook. You're going to get more hits, more likes, more everything with video, and the people. Um, then how are you going to advertise? Uh, you may be able to put a $300,000 home on there and never have to pay for advertising. Just put it out there and put it out there on social media and share it a bunch of times or whatever. But if it's going to be a home that's a little bit harder, I recommend you advertising. You can do it very easily uh, with of course KB Core will do with a click of a button. You're advertising your video, your listing through Facebook, Instagram, and Google PPC. So tell people that. Let them know that you're doing more than just sharing it on Facebook. You're actually going to be boosting the paying for something. They want to know that they're getting something for their money. So, uh, so anyway, I will upload that marketing strategy so you can see that. Our listing presentation actually has a section on it, but I also have a checklist of different things that you can go so you can make it your own and do how you want to with it. Have a pre-listing checklist is another good thing where it talks about the decluttering, talks about the depersonalizing, cleaning, repairs, and possible renovations. Curb appeal again is huge. Again, have vendors. readily available in your to recommend to these people. Uh, show that you're the expert. Show that you've got these people in place. Um, and then again, go over all your roles as a real estate agent. Show them what they're paying for and why it's important. And of course, now we're starting to get into that time where we have to have a conversation, or we're in that time where, and it's going to even become more prevalent, that we're going to have the conversation of cooperating commission, that attraction fee. As time goes on, uh, and the lawsuit stuff gets out there, the consumer is going to ask more and more questions about that. Be prepared to explain that, what that goes to. And at the end of the day, if they say, no, we want to offer 0%, they're more than welcome to do that. Uh, you know, they're allowed to do that. And it's commission's negotiable. They've always been negotiable. Your commission for listings negotiable. But be prepared to have more and more conversations about commissions. But the main thing is let them know what you're doing and why you're getting paid, and how you're getting paid. I think it's important. It's always been important, but it's even more important now more than ever. Um, Explain the closing process. And one of the biggest things to me is, once you have that listing agreement, is make sure that you set the proper expectations. The whole do not, if you take an overpriced listing and you tell them average days on the market are 30 days, you're not going to knock it out of the park in 30 days. That home's going to stay on the market longer, and for practical purposes. And the once you pass that 30 days, they're going to be calling and they're going to be upset with and then that listing becomes more of a burden than a blessing. So make sure you set the expectation. Set the expectations of the price. Set the expectations of how many days are on the market. Set the expectations of what offers are coming in nowadays. If you're selling in your community and you notice most offers are X dollars for, and they want this much in closing costs, uh, set those expectations, because if you don't, they're going to get an offer and it may be list price, but then they say, I'm not paying $10,000 closing costs. So make sure they understand how the offers are coming in nowadays, and what they're looking like, and what we're going to do, and tell them, if we get a low ball offer, this is what we can do. Don't be offended. It's just opening the door for conversation. It may not go nowhere, but hey, at least we've got conversation. But and then communicate. When you call, like I said, I like to call mine on Tuesday, because Tuesday's the day I try to call everybody involved. So if it's got a buyer agent and we already got a contract, I'm calling the buyer's agent, I'm calling the lender, I'm calling the title companies if there's two title companies, and seeing if we've dropped the ball. And then my last one is my client. I'll let me give them the information. Through the listing, you don't have a contract, call them whichever day works for you, and just let them know, hey, we've been on this many websites. This is our online presence. You had 2 showings last week. I've talked to both the agents. This is what they've said. Have those conversations every week. If you have to reduce the price, it's going to be a whole lot easier to talk to them if you've talked to them every week, instead of in 3 weeks calling and say, hey, we need to reduce the price, but yet you haven't updated them or talked to them at all during the week. So make sure you're calling them and letting them know. If you need help finding where you can see how well you're doing, KV Core, you can see how many hits it's had. You can go to Zillow, you can see how many hits it's had, how many saves. And then if you do Facebook advertising, it shows you how many leads have come in. You can show that you called those leads, and got showings. Show how many showings you've had. Show the feedback. Make sure they're getting the feedback. Go over the feedback with them. But when the feedback starts saying, "Hey, this house is great, except for the floors all need redone, or the house needs all painted," and it's consecutive through there, well, you either need to look at getting the house painted. You need to either look at reducing the price because the house isn't painted, but at least you got some history of other showings talking about that. Be prepared. your listing, or make sure you're good with your listing presentation. Make sure you're good with the CMA. If you need help with CMAs, please come in. Let's talk. Let's make sure you're good with those, uh, and make sure you're having the proper conversation. Um, so this week we should. I'll put a sample of, if y'all, every one of you should have the listing presentation we gave you, but we're going to put a sample in the portal so you can see it. Uh, David did his own. I liked it. What you did, David, on yours, and he customized his. Nothing wrong with that. Make it your own, but make it professional looking. Make sure there's talking points in there that can create some conversation and guide you through that first meeting with them. But we'll put those samples up there. I'll put the marketing plan in there. But get that presentation ready so that when we start, when you start farming. So if you look at last week's video in the portal, that's where it'll probably be this afternoon. That's where I'll have the 8 weeks of things to do for the farm that you picked. And then if you start getting leads and you're starting to meet people, make sure you're ready to go with the listing presentation. So, any questions or comments? All right. Well, hey guys, don't forget. I don't think Broker Open is this week because it's Thanksgiving, so I think they're taking a break. So I hope every one of you all have a good Thanksgiving. Enjoy time with your family, and we will see you back here next Monday. In the meantime, if you have anything, don't hesitate to call.